Great. Are you on Ozempic?
What's up, everybody? 420's in the house. V6's in the house. How y'all doing? Are we ready for a debate? Are we ready? Y'all like my new glasses? I like them. Yeah, whatever. So there's your Trump supporter. Here's your Harris supporter. We'll see how this goes. Y'all know we usually give you commentary over as we listen to the debate. I will be showing it like this way. So I think we'll be okay.
Changed here. You don't see a cry.
Whatever. You don't want to see him cry. You don't want to see him cry. We got about 11 minutes and 41, 39, 38. Let's go, bitches. Listen, I'm going into work late tonight just for this debate. That's how serious it is. I wish they would do an easier camera flip. You gotta do all this extra shit just to wait for the camera. Alright. Ah, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Cultural awareness, but for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the broadcast was something very.
What's up, Travel Pass? How are you doing, sweetie? Yeah, he's Team Trump. I am not. Obviously, you all know that. But he is Team Trump.
Take it.
Hey, Jesus ain't a Trump. Have you seen that man talk? Nah, I can't say that. But you know, be acting like it. Still in my food. I'm still in my husband's food.
My son just joined. He just really didn't think I had it.
What's up, Chris? Travel Pass said, I'm Team Trump too, but really I don't like either choices. I get that. But Trump is the lesser of two evils. Woo! I respect your choice just like I respect his, but I'm going to tell you like I tell him. What?
I like Trump for his businessman, but I got to take the good with the bad. So I got to take all his good qualities and his bad qualities.
Yeah, because he's a horrible person. And the only reason you like him as a businessman is because he found the loopholes in it.
That's what I'm going to pay taxes.
In Chicago, I'm sure wherever the store.
Can you guys hear it?
Take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
It's the only thing. I should have done it.
If you're just joining us, I'm Martha Raddatz. We're live from Philadelphia in the National Constitution Center. The site of
That's it, right?
Now about 10 minutes away.
About 10 minutes away.
Are just on the stage, ready to walk out. They are in their hold rooms, just minutes from making that walk. Martha, you have been backstage at this moment. What's it like?
Well, it's stressful, but it's also that time you just.
My husband's like, babe, are you hungry? I'm like, nah, I'm not hungry.
I'm sure
I was like, I'm gonna leave after the debate and go to work. He fixed the plate. Of course, I'm hungry.
Go out.
Let's bring somebody in who is.
I like the picture behind you. Thank you. My husband got that for me. It's a blanket, actually. It's a little blankie. He surprised it with me one day.
So Chris, you helped prepare
His little old ass.
for this moment.
But it just says stuff like,
He says
I didn't marry you so I could live with you. I married you because I can't live without you. Aww. You are my love. You are my life. Destiny made us a couple. He surprised me with that. He does silly stuff like that. I like it. See this picture over here? This is our wedding picture. He did the same thing over here. I came home one day and this big package was there.
Small talk here and there, but nobody's trying
He
to.
did that too. It's a big. That's our wedding
Kind
picture.
of clues. So let me ask you the
He
question.
thinks he's cute
Yeah, let me ask you the question.
when he wants to be. Ah,
Give me an answer, but you will. Which Trump is going to show up tonight? You know what I mean by that. Which Trump?
My zaddy.
whatever.
Beginning of the debate. the Trump.
So you can't see his hand.
Donald Trump. He knows inherently after the 2020 first debate against Joe Biden that the other Donald Trump is not the one that's a winning formula. The question is going to be,
There
will
we
he
go.
be able to continue to
We
make
can see it a little bit.
that approach through questioning by David and Lindsay and through any comments that Vice President Harris makes?
As my profile one. I do. I switch them up between time to time. Yeah, but that was the day we got married. There's another one where you're kissing me on my forehead too. That's a really good picture.
What about Kamala Harris? We hear another thing.
6 minutes and 45 seconds.
And I can tell you that
Damn it.
in 2016, he would regularly say during the many debate prep sessions that we had with him that Hillary Clinton was smart, that she was a good debater, that she was not to be taken lightly. And I don't think there was ever a moment in 2016.
What's up,
where he took
Shelly?
Joe lightly. I do think he took Joe Biden lightly in 2020.
Let's go.
The prep sessions that I had with him, it was very, very difficult to get him to focus on what Joe Biden might or might not do in that first debate. And I think his performance in part reflected that. So the question's going to be, is what he's saying publicly what he really believes? We know that often with Donald Trump, that's performance. But I will tell you that in his 2016 prep, he was serious about getting ready for Hillary Clinton. In his 2020 debate prep, he was completely unserious about getting ready for Joe Biden.
Said it was ridiculous when he debated fucking Hillary Clinton. That's what one he actually practiced for? I thought he was I thought he was better behaved with the Biden one. As Hillary, he was just a fucking idiot. In my opinion. And not because it was Hillary, because I don't really care for Hillary, but. Girl, you better own that shit.
So how does she do this?
She gonna have Trump like I had that dude earlier, baby. I roasted some guy on Facebook. He thought he was cute.
She draws from a house.
Called herself a protester.
Look, she is steady on her feet, still in her. And tonight she should.
Oh, it's okay.
People.
Yeah, he's home. I have to go to work after this.
And say, look, I have some ideas that I want to share with you.
Food.
The last 4 years. Here's what I think we
Chicken. We had such a great night last night, you guys. My daughter came over. We watched TV for a little bit. We bullshitted. We hung out. We did birthday cake. It was fun.
The American people go on droves in 2020.
We had chicken and sushi.
Say, I want to be a president that lead all Americans. I want to keep us.
Oh, you know he's gonna show his ass tonight. He's gonna show his ass, guaranteed. I put money on it. That's why he didn't want the mics muted.
She has to own up to the Biden administration's any mistakes they made too, and Donald Trump is going to go after her on that. You know, Martha.
Thank you. Tomorrow's her birthday. She will be 17, and then on the 22nd, my son will be 18. And then November 22nd, no, 26th, Brittany will be 16. Trinity will be 22 on November 18th. We have all of our kids' birthdays is like in the next couple months. We literally have 10 birthdays coming up. His birthday, my birthday. The end of the year for us is crazy. End in the beginning. You can tell when we got pregnant with our kids.
2016.
In the wintertime.
What Donald Trump do you think we'll see tonight? Can he be disciplined about talking about policies and what kind of president he will be?
Well, he certainly can be. I mean, the reality is Donald Trump doesn't have a lot to lose tonight. I mean, his support has always been almost unmovable. So the second piece is the honeymoon, I think, is over for Kamala Harris.
Trump supporters will support him no matter what he does.
Kamala Harris has to answer for the state of the economy that she took a role in the Biden administration. The border.
Sorry, y'all, my bad.
Past positions.
Where's Krista? She should be here in a minute.
Criminalizing certain.
She's probably wrapping up, getting her day wrapped up.
So really, the spotlight is on Kamala Harris tonight because she played a role in the Biden administration. She wants to act like she's not an incumbent. So this is where the focus is going to be. And she's
So let me go get my food.
tonight. And
Yeah,
I think
he just came home from work. I'll be going to work.
will be where it
I
actually
just woke up a little bit ago. I fell asleep.
I wonder what race she gonna be tonight.
Huh?
I wonder what race she's
Shut
gonna be tonight.
up. She's always been black. She went to a black college.
Female.
Y'all acted like she just became black.
What's been in Chinese,
Things he said about Kamala Harris, that she's dumb as a rock.
Asian,
That's
she's
not really gonna
she's
attract
about
female
5
voters,
different
is
races
it?
whenever she's around with certain people.
Yeah, no, it won't. But I also think that just like he did in the first debate
Oh,
with
Lordy.
Joe Biden, I think the formula here is to.
Shit, I wonder how many pussies he's gonna grab before he gets to the stage.
Where Trump is winning against her and the inflation and all these other problems.
So
that we're having.
we don't know what race she gonna be, and we don't know how many pussies he's gonna grab. So there's that. Or how many rights he's gonna take away before he gets to the stage. You see what he's trying to do. You see he's trying to get the Republicans to shut down the government. Y'all know that? Y'all know that? Y'all see that news today? He's trying to get the Republican Party to shut down the government. Yep.
2 minutes away.
He is.
Before
Before the vote, so it'll work out in his favor. So he can be the savior. You know he's got a savior, white man savior problem.
Harris said, if you got something to say it to my face. The question tonight, does Donald Trump actually?
Chris said she might be Chinese tonight, baby. Chinese. Look at these. Remember that one? It was a Chinese dirty knees. Look at these.
And where does she decide?
I was not a bad kid at all.
She do
I
that.
don't know what that was.
Thing about the needling coming your way. But first and foremost, I want to see a handshake when the two of them meet for the first time.
We didn't.
There's bets on whether they're gonna shake hands or not.
To see that tonight, but the first time side to side together.
And I have
Casey, what's up, bit of a?
what we are going to see is a spirited debate.
Grab your snacks, grab your food, and grab your water
Received
or beer,
almost certainly
whatever you
than the
drink.
last one. So with the
Chinese, Japanese. Look at
special debate, just moments
Christmas trees. Oh, you had the cinema one. You can see the dirty girls in this relationship. Katrina was all like Chinese, Japanese. Look at Christmas trees. I'm like Chinese, dirty knees. Look at these.
right now.
We did not grow up the same.
High-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump.
Let's
Their
go.
Face-to-face meeting in this presidential
So
election.
all you guys are watching this on your all's TV, right? I'm sure you guys are watching this on your TV. So you guys can listen to us, or I can turn it around if you guys aren't listening to it on your TV. But if you guys are all listening to it at home and listening to us, then I'll just keep it on us.
Here in Pennsylvania, still very much in play. ABC News presidential.
Let's fucking go. All right, y'all.
The most consequential moment of this campaign.
I'm gonna turn it up. I don't want to get a strike, so I'm just gonna turn it up. We're gonna this is how we always do it. We listen to the audio. Turn it on at your house too.
Presidential debate. David Liu and Lindsay Davis. Good evening, I'm David Buer, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most.
All right, Chris, I get it.
Their campaigns with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss.
Yeah, but he's donated $9,000 to her campaign.
Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So at one point in time, he believed in her too.
Vice President Kamala Harris and
Just
President
saying.
Trump.
Shake.
Kamala Harris.
Because she initiated. That's the only way they shook a hand. You see that?
Welcome to you both.
She's over there smoking.
Because she's letting him know, motherfucker, I'm not scared of you.
Looking forward to a spirited and
She walked up on him. That's how a boss does it, baby.
Repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the
What'd you say?
ambitions,
So he
the
was Joe Biden.
aspirations, the dreams of
Oh, shut up.
And that is why I imagine and have
It's better
actually
than listening to
planned
him
to
talk
build
about how everybody's talking about him.
Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on.
I mean, yeah, since you took our rights away, where's all these, how we gonna get money for these babies you're gonna make everybody happy? I'm gonna take my uterus out. Fuck that.
Time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small
See?
businesses.
Okay, you don't like her now, she's talking money.
Of America's economy.
Shut up.
My
He ain't gonna give you nothing.
His plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires.
That's right, and you're not a billionaire.
corporations,
Not
which
yet.
will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
1,000 will turn into
My
a big
opponent has a plan
Yes,
that I
it
call
will.
the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax
But he's not gonna get no
everyday
Broadway.
goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have
Let's
said
hear, buddy.
that
They're always
that
brilliant.
sales tax would actually result for middle class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Hey,
First of
Dragon.
all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the
Which
tariffs
he's in
off.
partner with
What I
because he
have-
has bank accounts that are tied to China stuff.
Inflation. We've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks
How you
the
gonna talk shit
countries.
about China?
Yeah,
But then you in
inflation,
head with
right,
it.
very few people
Like, make it make
have
sense.
seen before. Probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but
Yeah.
that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking
All right, 420. See you
jobs
later.
that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the
He looked
people
like he was frozen
that
on
he
TV.
and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our
No,
country.
it's because you had the Republicans block the funding for the borders. Do you want to talk about that, sir?
We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history
Because you want
of
to
our
come
country.
play Captain
I'll
Sable.
do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security
Right.
during this.
Stay on
debate.
topic, dumbass.
I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy.
I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us.
Right.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Come on, talk about it.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight.
Well, yeah, she hasn't been the president. I'm like, yeah, she's been the president. I left a bunch of bullshit to everybody. She was the vice president, which show me a vice president holds any fucking power.
I believe very strongly that the American people want a.
No, she did not say that.
Of bringing us
All right,
together.
Trump
There's
Jr.
so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump.
Not his playbook.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and she knows, I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
Yes, you do.
That's out
What's
there.
up, Easy? How are you doing?
I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to.
Then
read
why
it.
does some of your shit on your website line up with Project 2025, sir?
I have nothing to do. He knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially. and
I agree,
create a
so you
great
have to do
economy
something.
like I did before. We had the greatest economy.
And they, believe it or not, they tried to do something and fund it to make it to where it was more protection, and he stopped.
I said, we did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over.
Which part? When you told everybody to put bleach in their arms?
It was higher than it
That was your
before
president,
the
sir.
pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the.
You got gowns and masks.
For a lot of things.
You closed all the businesses.
For the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you.
He has a plan. Have you seen his TikTok plan? That's what he talked about in economy.
I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have
He
to
wants
look.
it now. He put it out today. He wants the Republicans to shut down the
that Donald Trump actually
government.
has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself
That's right.
than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a sound, but you ever say.
Look, your mic's off, sir. It's not your turn. Shut up.
Professors, the top professors think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money.
Well, he's not going to close the borders because if he did it, he could have done it while he was in office.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's
His idea was to put a fence up he didn't even finish.
like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try to lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax.
Trump's already won, so the Simpsons plan is she's up next.
You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical
The
family
Simpsons sell the future.
$4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was
The same ones that you're in bed with, China?
China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time.
Well, there's a lot of people that like her,
Cereal
so
or bacon
you may
or
not, and that's
eggs or
fine.
Anything else. These people of our
There's a lot of people that
country
do.
are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump
Well,
tariffs. in place.
technically, easy. That's already happened,
Well,
except he didn't DI, you
Trump
know?
administration resulted in a trade.
He got clipped,
that's one of
and
the
now
highest
she's running for
we've ever seen
president.
in the history of America.
He got clipped in the
He
ear,
invited trade wars. You want to talk about
if
his
you believe that
deal
happened.
with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China
Yep,
to
because he's in business with China.
improve and modernize their
He
military.
has offshore bank accounts that are attached to China.
When a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America.
No,
follows the
all you
Constitution
fight, he really does, he really is in bed with China. All you have to do is do your research.
Details of what that plan is. Focusing on relationships with our allies.
Yes, he
Focusing on
does.
Investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing. Focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi.
Mm-hmm.
What he did during COVID. Look at his.
He did.
Thank you, President Xi! Exclamation point.
Yes, he did.
That Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to
The way you're flip-flopping on abortion rights,
She's going to my philosophy.
the same way.
If she ever got elected, she'd change it.
Now he wants.
It will. She's a Marxist.
Sit.
She's a Marxist. Father's a Marxist professor of economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before.
Why didn't you finish your wall then, sir?
Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can
Why didn't he finish his wall?
economy. They have
Because they stopped.
she
Oh,
has
okay.
destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump.
Oh yeah, like this issue he's flip-flopping on. That's because that's what he does. 1 minute he don't want it, now he thinks people should have it up to 26 weeks.
President in American history. Well, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
He's really gonna go
That's
up here
why
and
I
act like
did
people
that,
are killing
because
babies.
that predominates-
He really's gonna talk about
because
this on the fucking debate.
Democrats are radical in that. And who
Ain't nobody killing living babies.
which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really
He's so
out of it.
fucking
And her
stupid,
vice
dude.
presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion.
It's called
because
murder. No one's killing babies after they're born.
and that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for
Oh, I know he is,
years.
easy.
They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the
Ain't no woman that has a healthy pregnancy at 9 months just walking into a fucking doctor's office saying, here, abort my kid. 9 month abortions are like babies that are born with their heart on outside of their chest or shit like that. This guy's a fucking clown. Where babies aren't going to survive anyway.
States are voting on it. For the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back.
And easy, I think that's a great idea, but we'll never get enough people to actually do that.
Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not.
And that's why women are now being arrested for miscarriages and all this other shit. Shut the fuck up. How many abortions do you pay for, Donald Trump? I'll wait.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No state in this fucking United States of America to kill a baby after it's born.
Let's understand how we got
God, that shit gets on my nerves.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. They did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are
I agree with that being
abortion bans, which make it criminal
if we could get people to do that.
Doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And
he pays for abortion, so I don't know why he's acting like he's so fucking pro-life.
Held belief to agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country.
Fuck
You
out my
want to talk
pussy.
about this is what people wanted?
My pussy and my uterus, unless I invite you in, motherfucker.
A pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because
Women are bleeding in fucking hospital bathrooms right now.
She's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
And in a parking lot.
She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
Facts.
And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
Which it should have been done in law a long time ago. And that's where I'm pissed off at the Democrats, because Obama and them should have planned that shit a long time ago.
2025.
We should be fighting for this shit.
A monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain
This issue alone will make me vote for her.
the freedom to make decisions about one's own body should not be made by the government.
Thank
Right.
you, Vice
Big
President
facts.
Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban.
We did.
because we've gotten what everybody wanted.
No, we didn't.
Democrats, Republicans,
No, we
and everybody else, and every
The voting polls showed women didn't want
to be
this.
brought back into the states, and the states are voting, and it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban.
Is
But
somebody in here that
this
shouldn't be in here? I
issue
can't
is
see
now
anybody.
taken over by the states.
Would you veto that national abortion ban if the
Well, we'll have to, because again, one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the
Who's
beach.
that?
But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, JD Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
I didn't discuss
Yeah,
it
yeah.
with JD, in all fairness. JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think you speak for me,
Right.
but I really did.
Did you break up with him?
We don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to
He's
get
trying
it.
to
Just
say
like she
that
couldn't
the
get student
system
loans. They
doesn't
couldn't get
share
student
the
loans.
same
They
clout.
close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So
Maybe
wonderful.
you
Let's go
guys
to
can
Congress.
back
Do it. Fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned,
You didn't break up?
nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking
I'll do
for
whatever
an
you
abortion.
do.
That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans.
No, you can't let her keep
Couples
that shit.
who pray
You know what I'm saying?
and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatment.
You're right.
What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who working 1 to 2 jobs.
put up with nobody's
Child care as it is, have to travel to another state to get the information strangers to go
She
get
won't
the
break up with him,
care
so-
she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue is on the ballot and red and blue states vote, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President.
Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF with fertilization.
Bunch
The
of crazy
IVF,
motherfuckers
I have been a leader.
and you just
In
don't
fact,
stick around for it.
When they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask?
Nobody's having abortions in 7 or 8 months like that.
Answer the question in detail.
Abortions in the city.
That is not, yeah, he's
Just
done,
like
that's
the
not
former
true.
governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root cause.
It's not
of
better for
migration
states
from
because
Central
then we
America.
have women
We know
that are literally bleeding in hospitals and doctors are refusing to see them because they don't want to get sued. That's why the state, it cannot be left up to the state.
Why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill.
This is
Which I
exactly what I've been
support.
talking about.
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the
Yep.
border to help
And
those
he
folks who are
stopped that.
working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns.
He's answering it
But you know what happened to that bill?
right here.
Donald Trump got
Yep.
on the phone, called up some folks in Congress.
Yes, he
and that
did.
killed the bill. And you know why?
Just like he's trying to get the Republicans to shut the government down.
Instead of fixing the problem.
Yep.
And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
That's right.
And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot.
She answered the question. She had the bill. He blocked it. And that was the
I'm gonna actually do
answer.
something really unusual.
Yes,
And
she
I'm going
answered
to
it.
invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter.
Yep.
He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies.
The question is, why did they wait till 6 months? They didn't wait 6
And I'm going to
months.
tell you,
They put something before then, and Trump called the Republican Party to block it. That's the answer.
I believe you deserve.
Just like today, he called for the Republican Party to shut the government down. He did that.
President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your
Well, I
response.
would like to respond.
Let me just ask though, why did you try to kill that bill and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the board.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people can go to her rallies. There's no reason to go.
Here, dude.
And the people that do go, she's busing them in and paying them to be there. And then showing them in a
So
different
now she
light.
has immigrants at her
So,
rallies?
you can't talk
Please,
about that. People
fuck
don't need
out
their
of here,
rallies.
dude.
We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
He won't
That's
answer
because
about the
people
border, but he'll talk about his rallies. And this is the dude you all are proposing for?
And it happened
Get the fuck out of here.
years ago. What's going on here, you're gonna end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield,
I don't know what you're watching, fight, but she doesn't stumble over her words.
they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people.
They're eating the pets.
This is what's happening in our country.
This is who you're voting for. Shut up. Just don't even. Eating the dogs is gonna change people.
It's very simple phrase.
One time
Make
super.
America great
Shut
again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president,
Broccoli-
this country doesn't have
broccoli-
a chance of success. Not only success, will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
Answer the question. Why did you block the bill?
Ohio. ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within.
We know we got our inside. We got our inside.
Fact check. There's no pets being ate.
Used for food, so maybe he's.
Get the fuck out of here.
Safe for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television. I'm taking it from the city manager. Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of it.
I think one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans
She's debating against a boss.
with President
Yeah.
Bush.
A boss that's talking about eating dogs, and that's never happened.
Including
Okay.
the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him.
Exactly.
His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former secretary of defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another.
Hell yeah, who wouldn't giggle at that ridiculous shit he just said? He just told you all that people were eating dogs. And they fact checked it and said, no, they're not.
The American people are not being addressed.
Why wouldn't you laugh at that?
The choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
That's a laugh of ridiculous. That's what that laugh was.
See, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people.
Because they wouldn't
Not
let
so
you do what you
graciously,
want to
they
do. That's why you
They
fired
did a
them.
great job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed viciously and violently.
Who's stuttering over their words now?
The family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them. And you take a guy.
I will wait and see. He said he saw it on TV. He will find it.
Because with me, they can write books. With nobody
I
else.
love you, Kelly.
They have done such a poor job, and they never fire
Look
anybody.
at him on my phone. I don't fact check it.
Why don't you fact check it? They fact checked it already.
They have the same people.
Who they get this fact from?
Why are you sitting like I was sitting in the last debate with him about it? Why are you sitting so quiet?
I'm gonna call double dragon.
In history.
Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna call double dragon. I'm gonna call to put you in your throat. That's what I'm gonna call.
Continue on
I'm gonna call double dragon.
Another catch. No, shit.
that the
Don't
vice
you
president
say
has
we
reacted to
broccoli
as well.
and beef and
President
mashed
Trump-
Yeah, because you just had cat last. You just had cat last. You just ate cat last night. How about that?
If it gets
Using the US He's also
You
saying
are not eating my cats. How fucking weird.
down,
report 11
There are
million
people who
undocumented
can't-
immigrants. We believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country. And then now in the United
what about the
States.
ones that are already here?
What about the government that put the drugs in our streets? What about that? Are we gonna act like the government didn't put drugs in black and brown neighborhoods?
Crime in countries all over the world is way down. And why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this
She
will
keeps
be
giving
one of
them
the
to her,
greatest
like she
mistakes
just-
in history for them. But it's not worth it
Stupid.
because
Here, Kamala, just take them.
Like drop kids off at
Like on the weekends, like everybody used to drop the kids off here to me while everybody was working and out of town. They're like, "Here, summer, you can have them."
Shall we get watch all the criminals?
Despite their fraudulent statements that they make, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime.
Migrant crime.
Levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI.
What about that white on white crime? I want to hear more about that.
With the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted
Right.
for
Fraud.
national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
Yes.
And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000.
Yeah, he talks about her defunding the
given
police, but he
on
wasn't
the day
defunding
after he
federal
was
people.
arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with the same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. Now, what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's a complete and total mystery.
I guess that's the first of being a cleaner.
Never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election.
President Trump.
Cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his
We the people. He wants to mess with the Constitution. How you feel about that?
Expressed disdain for members.
It's just a piece of paper. Our Constitution is just a piece of paper. You know what? I promise, I'm gonna get your ass.
Because
I'm calling your mama.
JD Vance is on
I'm calling your mama. That's it.
people.
Mama! If you don't get your son, I know you ain't raised him like this.
She's the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about
What? Oh, so now it's her fault he took a bullet to the head?
Their to democracy was a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
She did actually, Shelley. She responded to Manger Graham. She talked about how Trump blocked the bill.
Buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid, raised by a mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And I'm focused on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump,
Well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn
No,
Queens.
she's not
I had a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave
I wonder why no one's
stuff-
asking him about that 9/5. He used to believe in her. Y'all realize that, right?
Everybody's
All you
laughing at it.
Trump supporters realize he funded her.
At least
He helped her become the person she is.
she's like-
He donated
She
to her
was big on
campaign.
So she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out. She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis. She went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are. in
Oh yeah,
prison.
did you see his
This
new
is
thing?
radical
Talking about transgender kids are
liberal
getting
that would do
same-sex
this.
change while they're
She
in
wants to
school and then they come home different children.
She will never allow fracking.
Yeah.
If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills and we'll go back to solar where they need a whole desert to get some.
Well,
energy.
sweetie, I don't know what facts you're
Solar
speaking
plant-
because I'm not
I'm a
hearing
big
any.
fan of solar. They take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are huge things for the environment that she understands.
Thank you.
He loves President Trump. I do not.
Talking about the peaceful transfer of power, which of course we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer.
Oh, I don't even know about. What about all the people that have been shot by police? Only Ashley Babbitt matters?
People that
Fuck
have been
out of here.
treated so badly. I asked, what about all the people that are in our country and killing people that she allowed to port in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet." That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it. But when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's
Yeah,
a
you're
very
the
simple
president.
question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes,
I
sir.
had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was
Yeah, God bless all the
said,
people that were
I'd like to
killed
give
by
you
police.
10,000 National Guard Corps soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape.
It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker
Right.
Pelosi.
Answer the question.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville,
Right.
where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches,
Let's talk about it.
spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember.
Yeah, you
When
said
it
that.
came to the Proud Boys, a militia,
Yep.
the former president said, stand back and stand by.
Sure did.
So for everyone watching
And-
who remembers what January 6th
he had
was,
his house down in Florida.
I say,
dinner.
we don't have to go back.
Well,
Let's
I
not
mean,
go
yeah, that's
back.
his
Why
buddy,
not
but
go like that?
he was flying his airplane just died. I mean, he might still be on the
For you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand,
The guy that hate Manolo, Manolo,
country. to stand
Little
for
white
our
races
democracy,
there.
to stand for
Manolo's cool.
rule of
Something
law,
like that, yeah.
and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath.
He
If this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking,
tonight.
let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was what it was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of the stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And you'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
we talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in
No, I
2020?
don't acknowledge it at all. I
You
said
did
it
say that.
sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders.
He couldn't answer that question, Christine.
Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisper. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and said
They
there's
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't
Let
have
him
standing
talk, Trump.
technicality. Can you imagine a system?
What's up, Kid Cool?
A person in an election doesn't have standing. The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline.
Yeah, I know y'all like my
We have a
fancy setup,
nation that is-
bringing the debate to y'all.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that they lost by a whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election. That was won by President Biden and yourself.
Right, he
But I
still
can ask
doesn't
you about
believe it.
something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump.
I want somebody to ask him, why does he keep calling for civil war if he doesn't win?
Those people who cheated, and they list donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Yep,
Donald Trump was fired by 81.
that's what I believe. That's what I
So let's be
believe.
clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr.
And
President.
let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if you weren't in that
We didn't
debate,
have any
you
problems while he was in office. Is that why you said when I stopped that room?
votes. What he did, he took about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't.
I
stand
walked
her.
out of the room for a
He had
second.
14 million votes. They threw him out.
What did he say, Angel? I didn't catch it. I was out of the room.
She was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm okay
President,
with it
Mr.
because
President, your time
I
is up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are
Well, you know, not for anything, Satan, but the governor and the mayor and the mayors in New York need to step up and do some shit too.
said international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000
Somebody said that her and Kamala look like they're related.
100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel.
When his VP select didn't go and show up for the child tax credit thing they were all supposed to sign, and he was down at the fucking borders. Yeah, okay.
She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population.
Yeah.
Because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel is gone.
Nobody is eating cats and dogs. They've already fact checked. They fact checked that on the show. God.
Because they took off all the sanctions and I had.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
The 28 different smears of terror. Smears of terror. Horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris.
Well, then why don't you do it then? Why are you waiting on? If you can end the war before you can become president, then what the fuck are you doing?
Israel and the Israeli people. He
No,
knows
fuck
that.
all that.
He's trying to again divide and then distract from the reality.
Exactly.
It is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known.
He's done everybody, but I know he's just joking, right? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody jokes about being a dictator.
Whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine.
Right.
It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known
COVID, if we get COVID again, it's not gonna be because of migrants, it's gonna be because of people
to
here
be president again.
that don't have
because
vaccines,
so
probably. I don't know.
They can manipulate you.
Or because it's a virus and it's not going anywhere, probably.
And
That's the second one I would bet on.
so military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice
Right.
President Harris.
Which he mocks all the time.
And she's the one that caused it. It's weak on national security by allowing every nation.
She caused it. This woman ain't even been the president, but she caused it, right?
68 different
Fuck outta
countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. Said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're
Her
weak,
face expression is like,
ineffective.
motherfucker, if you don't shut the fuck up, you stupid idiot.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
Hey, I wonder if Trump's gonna bring his tic tac for the economy for this time, like he did last time. Oh, ain't nobody stopping him from talking. He just don't know what the fuck he's saying. What's up, everybody?
It was a regular day for 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
She went to meet her mom at a bowling tournament.
I'm a very.
Oh my God, this was not a young girl who just ran away.
How fuck is that? No, no Trump for this round. No, no. No. Shut up. You're such a crackhead. He said Trump for the, what'd you say?
Trump for your rump.
Trump for your rump, grab you in the front. I can't stand his fucking ass. I'm calling your mama. I'll be back later. All right, Chris.
We'll find out
What time is it? I got a half an hour before I gotta go to work.
You're promised.
9:30 or 10:30. It was an hour. It's 90 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I have time, and I was a wild chick.
No, I'm gonna tell you right now. My husband did not vote for. Hold on, where's the thing at? Where's the remote at, baby? My husband did not vote for Trump because he's a working man. My husband voted for Trump because of he's a businessman and he likes the way he fucks over the government. That's why he voted for Trump, not because he's a worker man and he believes in him. I mean, let's be honest. My husband likes Trump because of business aspects, but morally, he thinks Trump's a joke. Okay, but he likes Trump because if he can look for loopholes and fuck over the government, then he's all for that. That's why my husband likes Trump.
You gotta take the good with the bad.
He doesn't like Trump because he's a misogynistic fucking asshole taking women's rights away. He don't care about any. I mean, he cares about that stuff, but he don't like him because of any of that. He thinks he's a douche. But when it comes to money, and my husband loves money, he's a businessman. That's why he voted for him, not because he's a working man. Because Trump's not for working people. Just FYI. Y'all like my new glasses? I like them. These was the ones I was waiting on. I got two pairs. I got my backup pair, and then I have these ones. I like them. They're Don and Karen's. Which, in glasses, that's like Jaguar glasses. Just saying. Don and Karen glasses are the shit. Is that Shaw Pete? Who? Him? Oh, that's my husband. His name's Curtis. Thank you. I love them. They're super cute. DKNY. What's up, Dawn? We're on a break, and I want to say thank you for everybody that's here. Whether you support Trump or you support Biden, I will not allow that to affect our relationships, because I'm not like that, or else I wouldn't be married to his ass. What his stupid Trump hats and his stupid Trump sayings. Impact. What's that? Let's go. No. I get to go into work late. I agree, Nar. I agree. I personally think his wife hates him. I don't see no love between them two. I'm sorry. I just don't. I believe that is an arranged marriage. I do. Because between two people, you can see chemistry and love, and you can see that kind of stuff. Even if people ain't, just the way my husband looks at me, you can tell that he cares about me. She don't even want to hold his hand. Shit, Obama was a better gentleman to her. He wouldn't even fucking open the door. Remember that shit when he just left her fucking? I was like, dude, what kind of fucking man does shit like that? I don't know. I guess I just am used to different shit. You think she loves him deeply? Well, maybe it's all that Botox. I don't know, but she don't seem like she has a lot of emotion towards him. I strongly believe it's a. All right, we're back.
That we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir.
Believe it or not, this is a 72-inch TV. You just can't tell because of it. It's so far away.
So arguing that Putin wins, he may be emboldened even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president. Okay, they respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify,
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know.
Now he must be an advocate for Biden. Get the fuck out of here.
He's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify the question.
You don't even know if he's alive.
Best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best.
He can't even answer a question.
And just get it done. All right, negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Trump
Well,
got that
first of all,
trick
it's
energy.
important
That's
to
what he's got.
remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
That's right. Remind him,
I
baby.
believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much
I'm
happier
gonna say
than he is
quiet,
right
please,
now.
but when he tries to interrupt her,
Eventually, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader, upholding international rules and
he's not right.
as
He's
a
not
leader
telling the
who
truth.
shows strength.
She did not start the war. What the hell?
We have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
You talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen, for years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agree with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp
You want to call him something else?
Appreciate the role.
I know that feeling when you want to call somebody something else and you got to keep it
President of the
clean.
United States.
That former president. That flag was great. You asked me who's going to be black, like the flag almost came out right there. He's like, that's what she wanted to say.
Exactly what he wants to say. Hold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations
thank
with the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was from getting out, it would have been out faster, but we
That's something I would do, not the president.
many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have.
Plus, I know where you live. I know where your kids go to school and everything. That's my shit.
$85 million.
Not the president.
Beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago, but she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care.
But you always
Okay,
talk about it.
I don't care.
You do.
You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less.
But you talk
Look
about
at
her
the
being
Mississippi's
black
okay with
now
me.
like every other
But
fucking
those were your
sentence.
words, so I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black that she put out. And
She's been black her whole fucking life, dude.
I read that she was black.
She went to a
And that's
fucking
okay. Either one was okay
prestige
with
black
me.
colleges.
That's up to her.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's just a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want
Yeah.
this kind
Now
of
all of a sudden
approach
she's
that
lying
is
about being black.
constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember
Right.
how Donald Trump started. He was a land. He owned land. He owned buildings.
When he said he
And
didn't want black people
He
in the
was
city.
investigated because he refused to rent property to black families.
That's right.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad.
Let me
in the
guess,
New York
he didn't do
Times
that, right? I guess that's what
calling
people
for
gonna
the
say.
execution
And he didn't do this
of
either, right?
young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park Five.
That's right.
Took out a full-page
Yeah,
ad
you did that, bitch.
calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president
That's
of
right.
the United States.
100%.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people?
And he can't do
Knowing
that.
that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Fact.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our
But
country.
you're the
There's
one who
nothing
always
like
talks
it
about
like
race.
it.
He
It
talks
is
about her
for our
race. He talks
country.
to her about being a
And
woman.
they come up with things
Here.
like that you just
It's
said.
like he don't do this shit.
Back many, many years, well, a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg,
Let's look at his
agreed with
resume.
me on
Did he
the
ever have
Central
anything?
Park
I'm
Five.
sure he
They
had one
admitted
today or
they
yesterday.
said
I bet he
they
said
pled
something then.
guilty. They said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back
Those men
years,
have been
40,
fighting for their
50
fucking
years
freedom since
ago,
they got arrested.
because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is.
Our government
Oil
sucks, you piece of
policies, every
shit.
single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away
Both
from Biden.
sides
I
of our
don't know the
government
gentleman. She says, she is Biden. The worst inflation we've
What's
ever
up,
had.
white boy?
A horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Time's up.
I want to respond to that. I want to respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
Right.
One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
Right.
I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I
But
have
Satan,
a plan. Let's
if crime is super high, wouldn't that be on people too, though, a little bit?
plan.
Like, we can't put every single thing. Something us as citizens have to take some accountability for, too.
Tax deduction. Their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time
I
home
live in a
buyers.
red state and crime's pretty
Kind of
fucking bad.
conversation
You know who that's
that
in? Local
people
government.
really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is
That's who
constantly
that's on.
about belittling and name calling.
What happens in your personal
Turn the
communities,
page.
you need to start holding your local government responsible for that.
Suggested plan to fund police. She has a flat plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President.
She has a plan to allow fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I knew he could keep it together. There's your Trump right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That I need to
Well,
respond to.
I'm sorry, we're gonna move on, Vice President.
Sometimes what he has
President
said
Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan? And can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy healthcare, always was. It's not very
Well,
good today.
then why do you want to keep it?
And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
Concept of
I'm
the
not
plan is
president
not a
right
plan. But
Yes.
you should be making a plan. You expect her to have plans. Where's your fucking plan, buddy?
And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President.
We should have been hearing about it tonight. Tonight, it's a debate, not in the distant future.
Insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away.
Thank you.
Stop with the continuous.
Stop with
lying
the
about this stuff.
bullshit.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act,
Listen,
I
I'm
understand.
not taking
Just
anybody's
look at
guns away.
history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when
And
it
that's
was
why he
up
was
for
giving
a
you
vote in the
legs.
United States Senate. And the
Why people
late,
won't put
great
people in
John
history?
McCain, who you have
Breaking records.
disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John
Well,
McCain,
her
I
and Joe
will
Biden
never
both
forget
did
that
that.
night.
To be fair, both
Walked
of
onto
them
the
also
Senate
recently
floor
have been
and
trying
said,
to let people out of
no, you don't.
So we need to find a
No,
happy
you don't.
medium where people
No, you
are
don't get
not getting locked up, but not just doing whatever the fuck they want. Because they went from one extreme to the next. And I will say that. I don't like that.
To deny people with pre-existing
Right,
conditions.
100%.
I have to tell people watching tonight.
But that's why I feel like they went from locking all kinds of people up and to just passing all these rules and let everybody do what they want. And you can't do either of those.
Asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes, and thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President
Roll up
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot.
Made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We could do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she.
Then why don't you have some kind of plan right now? He has no plan to speak of.
Private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to.
President-
People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water.
Not for anything, but the lady's eyelashes, hers and Kamala's are both pretty. Whoever did them did a good job.
Fight climate change, and Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it between him and his son.
He keeps talking
They get
about
all
China,
this
but
money
he's
from
literally
Ukraine.
at China.
They get all this
He
money
has
from all
offshore
of these
bank
different
accounts in
countries.
China.
And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Well, I'm not Joe Biden.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
Is that Kate good? So what do you think so far, babe?
Baywatch is sexy. Baywatch was the maid show of the world. That theme song.
A whole lot of wasted time, a whole lot of last. And by the time it changes, we'll be seeing the debate of somebody else.
What happened?
It's a lot of wasted time, and by the time anything is really changed, somebody else will be up here debating, talking about the changes they're gonna make.
Right. I agree with that. All insurance, car insurance, home insurance, it's all out of control, just like everything else. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? What did I do, babe? How do I get that off?
It'll disappear in a minute.
Oh, okay. Instead of turning it up and down, I was like, duh, I can always mute it. Oh, that's the Baywatch people? Go beyond the beach after Baywatch.
And all the histories of drug abuse
It's
and
one of the hardest types.
Huh?
all the history of drug abuse and sex on set and all that other shit.
Wow. What's up, everybody? So what do y'all think of the debate so far? I think it's full of crap.
He's an unruly. You're 24. He's 54.
Yeah. It just seemed like I had met my soulmate.
You fired 4 times.
Friday, 2020 is all legal.
The 32-year-old former ballerina, the center of the so-called Black Swan trial. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't spoken out before. Why did you decide to talk now?
This Sunday, only 2020 premieres Friday at midnight.
I actually I'm gonna watch that tonight. I seen something on Law and Crime about that, the Black Swan. You think it's been good? I will say this, it's definitely better than the Biden Trump one. God, it's definitely better than that. So
What's the backdrop of it?
huh?
Backdrop other than Black Swan. Did you see?
I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I think some lady killed somebody, but I'm not for sure how. I don't know anything about it. I just looked at it. I was like, Black Swan. I was like, ooh, that's a court case. That sounds like that's gonna be good. Sounds like some bitch that snapped. Huh?
So the movie was good.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
Even her family knew about it.
We need a new candidate, a third choice because these two suck. I agree with that. And you know what? If people could come together and come up with a third party, I do think that's something that could happen. But I think because this is gonna happen. Okay, good. TPP, you guys, we'll have a panel tonight. Woo woo. Oh boy, it's gonna be interesting. What was I saying? But it would take so many people to come together and drop the Republican and Democrat. And I'll be honest with you, I just don't know if right now there's not enough people to do that. It's way too late to organize and do that now. We have voting coming up. So if people were going to do that, they should have been organizing last year on that, to be real, but like maybe start the organization of now. I say that every election year, every time I do these things, I say it. And, I try to lead by example and show that people can take care of people and you don't have to rely on the system as much. But, here we are still fighting about Republican and Democrat. So we probably will the next election as well. So we'll see. Maybe I'll play this clip back in the future when we all talk about, man, we should have had a third party. And I'll be like, remember what I said? We should have started organizing for that. Yeah. The one choice where illegal immigrants will keep flooding the cities of our country, another candidate that will attack women's rights. Either way, you're screwed. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that. I do. I agree with that 100%, Travel. I agree with that. That is something I can agree on. All right. They're back.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight 2 very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past. And an attempt to take us backward. but we're not going back.
We ain't going
And I
back.
do believe that the American people
I'm gonna
know
put this
we
up
all
one more
have so
time.
much more in common than what separates us.
Oh yeah,
We can
bro.
chart a new
It's funny.
forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together. That is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that
I
we have
think
the
she did good
respect
tonight.
that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her
Ooh,
government.
the way you see the way she looked him up and down when she said that.
As a prosecutor, I was the DA, I
She
was the
said
attorney
a
general,
woman has her
United
own
States
decision.
Senator, and now Vice
Own
President.
body. I said yes, baby.
And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat?
Facts.
The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay?
That's right.
And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President.
Wait, what?
Harris, thank you.
Eli got
President Trump.
arrested. When?
So she just started by saying she.
Hell yeah, she's consistent and confident, baby. She did a good job today. You see the way she looked him up and down when we was talking about the women's rights?
She's been there for 3.5
Christine, when did he get
years.
arrested?
They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we
What?
talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right
I was
now, go
asleep.
down
I just
to
woke
that
up.
beautiful
I did
White
doctor's
House, go
appointments
to
all day.
you want to do. You haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil.
She's
fuels, we're not gonna
already
do-
said she would.
are
Shut
going to
up.
Make this country stronger.
She done
whether you
corrected
like
him
it or
3
not.
times in this
Germany
debate. He's
tried
still
that,
going on with
and
that
within
shit.
1 year, they were completely cheap plans.
Oh, he's gonna be tweeting tonight. He's gonna be tweeting like a broken high school girl, like he got a broken heart from like a high school boy. Why did
For
he
a
do it?
nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with
What the fuck
Russia
did we get
and
arrested for
Ukraine.
today?
We're going to end up in a third world war,
Baby,
and
that's
it'll
your
be
phone.
a war like no other because of
Look on
nuclear
TVP's
weapons.
community
the
page so I
power
can see
of
why
weaponry.
Eli got
I
arrested.
think our entire military, she gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. But these people have to do the purpose of all is allowing millions of millions of criminals destroying our country. Worst president, worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
And we are here.
All right, y'all.
ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz. It was a lively debate from the economy.
I'm trying to. Christine, where did they post it at? I see we're live. Hold on.
Updating our live blog, looking at some of the allegations made back and forth, doing fact checks. You can find all of that on abcnews.com. But I would like to replay the moment at the very start of this debate because it was quite a moment. The handshake. And if you
Kamala
look,
Harris.
You see, she initiated that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean,
Well-
quite a moment, first of all, because we hadn't seen a
There
handshake.
you go, baby.
We haven't seen a handshake in a
And she
long time.
initiated that.
And
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad they pointed that out. She initiated that. She initiated that. Shut up. I can't stand your ass sometimes. All right, you guys. I have to go to work. I'm already late. I asked my boss if I could not come in until after the debate. Kamala's definitely got bigger balls.
To just a.
She definitely has bigger balls. I agree, Nitty. 100%. I don't know, Christine, if you want to come up or if we want to shut it down. Going back to bed. Okay, Christine's going back to bed. So you guys, I'm going to shut this down. I will see you guys later. I'm sorry, I don't have a panel. But if you guys know where the People's Podcast is, they're doing a panel. So I'll be over there while I'm at work listening and stuff. So you guys are more than welcome to join us there if you want. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. I'll be good. I mean, y'all be good. I said I'll be good. I'll never be good. Christine, lots of prayers to you, sweetie. We love you. I feel like I'm yelling. Love you, and I hope you're feeling better. Talk to you guys soon. I gotta go to work. See y'all around. By the way, I think Kamala won. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Holler! Take care, everybody.